Hi, I'm Anthony from Sydney Backyard Veggies. Just going to come out in the garden this afternoon and do a bit of work, but before I do that, I'm going to come over to my ginger plants. Now I've been growing these two for the last, I would say 6 or 7 months, and I started these off, late November, early December, and they're looking okay, but I think with all the rain we've had, and they just started to fall off a bit, so I think it's time now to harvest them. Before I do that, I'll just quickly show you what they look like, and then I'll tip them out and see what kind of harvest we get out of them. So these are my 2 ginger plants, and they're starting to look a bit worse for wear. They did flower a bit, and I actually am worried that the fact that these stalks started dying off, that the plants might be rotting, and I'm just concerned that the heads are rotting, so I need to come through and harvest them. I think I've started off with 2 cuttings per container, so I'm hoping for some big roots to form, but I'm worried again. Just having a look, just the fact that I can pull these out and they break off. I'm just really concerned that the root is actually rotting, but we'll see. What I'm going to do is just empty these out into the wheelbarrow adjacent and just see what we end up with. So just emptying out the first tray. Oh, this is a big one. Here we go. Oh. Let's hope it's worked out well. Looks like I might need the hose for this one. It looks quite good. I actually might need to get the water on this just to clean it up, but that's what it's looking like. It's looking beautiful. Looking at that, it's beautiful. Really nice and big. It's got just a lot of dirt in it. Just got to clean it up. I'm not sure. I've never grown these before, so I'll be interested to see how I fix that up. I might just give it a hose. So I just try to wash the soil off those plants, and this is what I'm getting. They're looking amazing. I'm going to come through and cut the tops off and actually cut most of these roots away. This one's actually quite a good size one too. By the time you get rid of that root ball, I think that one's going to be close to 1 kilo, and I actually got a couple of nice ones here too. This is the second one. Really happy with that. It's first year growing ginger, and just giving it a go. I think what I'll do next year is not overcrowd the pot, and also just give them a bit more fertilizer, liquid fertilizer, early in the year. This season's garden goals for me with ginger is to try to grow my year's supply, and so happy with this first go. Actually, I should be starting my my new cuttings for next season in the next week or so. So I will show you how I start off the cuttings for planting. I'm going to take these, going to give them a clean up, and then probably just put them out in the sun, just to let them cure a bit up here, just to get that wetness and all that soil off them. Then I'll put them into storage. So happy with that. And these small ones here were the second plants, the second cuttings that we'll put in that same container, so I did struggle a fair bit. Next thing on my list of things to do in the garden this afternoon, I'm going to come over to my broad bean planting here. Now this really didn't work out. Really old seed. I think that's my issue. I've had the seeds for a couple of years, and I was in denial about how old the seeds were, and so the whole bed only 3 or 4 germinated. But what I'm going to do is actually going to transplant these seeds over to the other bed that I've tried to plant out with broad beans, and I'm going to dig this over and plant a lot more of the broccoli that I planted. Still got close to 30 plants, so I'm going to try to plant them out here. So what I'm going to do now is just get my trowel and actually just start transplanting whatever broad bean seedlings have germinated. In transplanting these seedlings, what I'm going to do is actually try to see if I can remove as much of the soil as I can with the plant, just to minimize the amount of transplant shock. Now this is quite crumbly, but that's it. That's why I'm going to retransplant. I'm going to plant this seedling here against the timber frame. This area here still gets sun all year round, although that area, the rest of the bed is still shaded. And I'm going to just try, I had planted out some seedlings in this spot, but I think because it was so wet and the seeds were relatively old, the seeds didn't germinate and they probably rotted in the ground, so that's okay. You see, there it is. There's your seed. It's not even, it's all just mush. So just making sure that the soil is firm around the base. Okay, yeah, and then I'll come and give it a bit of a water. So back over at the broad bean bed, and I'm not having to add any further amendments to this bed. I'd already added my compost and all my other amendments when I planted out the seedlings before. So I just gave it a quick turnover with the shovel just to break up the clogs, and I've made my rows, 4 rows in the bed. I'm just going to be planting all these seedlings out in the standard 40 centimeter spacings, but because here this is north facing and the back plants tend to get a lot less sun, and what I'm looking at doing is staggering the plants so that they're not in a straight row, but rather they zigzag across the bed, so just to give them a bit more opportunity to get that sunlight. But I'm hoping that it'll give me a better result, because this bed does, especially the back row, it does deal with a lot of shadowing from the plants in the front. So I'm just going to start planting these seedlings progressively, and I'll take you through and show you the final result. Quick planting session. Got most of my punnets in. I've still got 6 or 7 seedlings which I need to find spaces for, and I'll plant them out. Oh, almost broke it. All planted out now. Gonna look after them for a bit. Now it's getting a bit dark to show you much more about the patch, but I'll come through tomorrow, just add a little bit more water to these seedlings, and then yeah, I'll just grow them out over the next 6 to 8 weeks, in which time they'll be ready to be harvested, and I'll get my spring veggies planted out in this spot. So this is my next succession of planting. I will be looking at planting at least 2 more rounds of broccoli between now and September, and I will start my new round of seedlings later in the week. That's all done now, and just waiting for the sun to set. This is just the view of the garden. It's looking really nice actually now, with a lot of the cauliflowers just ready to start forming heads, and the cabbage is starting to show, starting to firm up as well, which is really good. Just coming outside in the patch just after work, and just going to do a few things around the place. But before I do that, I want to show you my cauliflower seedlings. These are the ones that I started in the last video, and it's been, I think it's day 5 or day 6 since I seeded this tray, and I've just started to germinate. So I just wanted to show you how they look at the moment, and now what I'll be doing over the next 2 or 3 weeks to get them ready for planting out. So this is the tray that I seeded. It's a 42 cell tray, this one, and you can just see, if I bring it close, you can just see a lot of those seeds have germinated. Now once they germinated, they need to go outdoors straight away. So I had them out in the sun this morning, but generally speaking, I just find a spot in my yard that's full sun, and I just sit them out in the sun all day. As they get bigger, you're gonna have to be careful about the watering to make sure they're watered before you do that. But yeah, the more sun the better. They actually do need full sun, and all day full sun ideally. It's to so that they don't get leggy. So in this first week of growth, it's really important to get the first round of liquid fertilizer on the seedlings. Now I'm growing these seeds in a seed raising mix which has very little nutrients. It's fine for them to germinate, but they won't go any further than that. So what I do is actually make a weak solution of liquid fertilizer, nitrogen liquid fertilizer. I use sea salt, power feed, to make sure it's the green bottle, not the white one, but you can use any any real liquid fertilizer, as long as it's the high nitrogen content, make it really weak. I don't want to make it too strong. It's enough to water these plants. Now, the first application of fertilizer, I will gently spray it across the top, but as the plants get larger, I will bottom water these seedlings. I just find it does it better for the seeds. It actually do a lot better, and especially when I am soaking it with the fertilizer, I find that if you bottom water it, the plants absorb it a lot, the soil absorbs it a lot more. So I've watered those seedlings, and I've just got a few things to do before I finish off for the day. It's getting quite dark at the moment, pretty quickly actually. Can't wait for daylight savings to kick in again. But it's coming over to the broccoli patch, second planting of broccoli. And I need to harvest. You can just see them there. I need to harvest a couple of heads. I'm going to harvest them quickly for the table and show you what I end up with. These two heads look like they're pretty good. The other ones are still quite small, but they'll come over in the next few weeks. And the good thing about that is I'm really thinking that I will plant out those cauliflower seeds will go in this spot. So happy that they still take just a little bit longer, but I think in 2 weeks time they'll be clear. Yeah, so just quickly, I generally like to keep as much of the stalk. That's the one. It's not overly big, but still it's nice to have nice fresh broccoli straight from the garden. I may have left this one go just a little bit too long, but that's fine. I should have harvested probably a day or so ago. Again, not overly large, but a welcome addition to dinner. These are the two heads that I've harvested, so I'll take them inside. But before, I'm trying to see if I can beat dusk. I'm going to come over here, and I need to see that I got my peas. If you can just see that behind me, and I want to add a few more, just another string line across, just to support these, because they actually double in length pretty quickly every day. And I'll just bring you closer to this one. Now you can see the string trellises down here, and these heads, I'm just anxious that the heads are going to start breaking, so I'm going to add another 2 string trellises, string lines just across the front about this height, just to support these plants. Just bringing you closer, and you can see that the vine is sitting in between 2 strings, and the string hugs either end. And what I'll do is I'll keep doing that as the plant's growing. As these lower ones start growing further, I will add additional strings to keep them supported upright. And there's nothing, this will be great. And I've had some big winds over the last few days, and they've still stayed well supported, so I find this is the best way to do it. And I'll continue adding string, and they should get to about the top of that star picket. So happy that's done now, because I'm expecting some big winds tomorrow and I don't want them to get knocked around. And before I wrap up this video, I'm just over at my second cauliflower patch here over in my western beds, and I'm just starting to see the first heads pop through the leaves. So I want to bring you in close and show you what they look like at the moment. Coming over to the patch, and this was planted out in mid-March, and probably got in the order of close to 30 cauliflowers here. And have a look at them this morning. There you go. There's a nice little cauliflower head showing up here, and just I think most of them have a head showing. There's another one, and I think this one here as well is showing through. There you go. You can just see it. Now this patch then, on that basis, this patch should be ready to harvest in about 10 days time. So really excited that this is finally coming online. I've just harvested my last cauliflowers about 2.5 weeks ago, so we're coming low on cauliflower in our fridge, so it's good to have more cauliflower. But what I also want to show you as well is I've actually planted, when I planted this bed at the time, I had some spare broccoli, and I've got this broccoli head showing. And if I bring you in closer, there's another one here. There you go. So these ones should be ready to harvest too. So yeah, they're looking really good. Sometimes the way the garden works is that people tend to ask me, how do I work through such a big crop at the same time? And just want to let you know that although some of the heads are ready to go. Some of these plants are still, as you can look here, it's still quite a way away. It's just starting to form. So the plants, I find themselves just generally space themselves out. So the harvest will come over about 3 or 4 weeks, and I'll be hoping to harvest 4 to 5 heads a week, which is fine in my patch. We can work through that kind of level of glut, and if there is a big push of about 8 to 10 heads, I'll end up handing them over to family and friends. So this planting was planted in early March, and now I'm just starting to harvest. This was the second planting that replaced the first planting that was planted on my southern side that was harvested in previous videos, and I've been harvesting that one for about a month, and that finished along with the second plant I planted on my northern beds. But to continue on with the section planting, I did plant out a third round of 15 plants over here, and I showed in previous videos how I planted this out. And these 15 plants here are now about 5 weeks in. Now they are looking still quite small at the moment, but once we get over the shortest time of the year, which is a couple of days time, and as the days get longer, you'll see that these will really fire up. And I'll be expecting to start harvesting these at about 3 or 4 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks after the last harvest of that second bed. So that way I've got that extra 15 plants that come online, and I'll still have cauliflower for the table. And then following on from that third planting, these are the seedlings that I was showing you before. This is my fourth and last planting, 42 seedlings in total, and they will then get planted out in about 3 weeks time. They're still quite small yet, but once they get to their second true leaf, they'll be planted out. And it works well for me because I've got this spot here, is that broccoli patch that I've been harvesting over the last few weeks. This should be cleared by then, and then by having that planting of cauliflower going into this patch in that mid-July time, I'll be harvesting these in September, late September. So that means I will be working through cauliflower all the way up from April first harvest all the way up to the end of September. And this year I'm on track to growing close to 100 heads of cauliflower. Now we, a family of 5, it sounds like a lot of cauliflower, but we've got a family of 5, and we will find ways to cook them up, and from steaming to boiling to frying to in soups. So there's also ways to cook it, to roasting. But also when I do have that big glut, I do give it off to my family. My family are big vegetable eaters, especially with stuff like cauliflower, where they are familiar with it in our Lebanese heritage. They're happy to take us whatever I can give them. But my idea in my carrot patch is to be able to constantly, I've got 2 objectives: to grow vegetables that I use throughout the season, and secondly to have a lot of those vegetables, because I find if I'm going to grow something and spend 12 to 16 weeks growing it out, I'd want a glut. It just takes too long to grow cauliflowers to only grow 5 or 6. If you've got the space, thankfully I have, I try to put more plants in than less. But I'm really happy with those cauliflowers. I'm really looking forward to start harvesting cauliflowers again. Thank you very much everyone for joining me in this video. I really appreciate all the support, and I hope to see you in the next one.